I'm sure everybody knows by now, California's Great America has an expiration date. It could be up to 11 years, but more likely it'll be much sooner. Cedar Fair sold the land to a real estate company, taking in $310 million, and they're going to use that to pay down their debt, invest in some profitable ventures, and pay back their shareholders. This is something that Cedar Fair attempted 11 years ago, but that sale fell through, and as of right now, they're on track to do it again. This is a very good, mid-tier park in the Cedar Fair chain, and they have some awesome roller coasters. They agreed to operate the park for the time being, but if and when the park shuts down, what will happen to those coasters? Let's look at this two ways: pure fantasy and harsh reality. This is the fate of the coasters of California's Great America. Let's have some fun first. Great America has 9 coasters, and we can pretend they're all finding new homes in the chain. Let's see where all these make the most sense, keeping in mind I will only assign 1 coaster to each park, and 2 will walk away empty-handed. Demon is an aero looper, opening with the park in 1976, so we need to find a park that can use a basic inversion machine. Who doesn't currently have an old Aero, or an old Vekoma? And this would actually add some value to the park. Truth is, there's not much demand for a coaster like this, but I think the one park that can use this is Dorney Park. They have 2 very good B&M loopers, and nothing else that goes upside down. This is a more basic inversion machine, and for a park starting for a new coaster, maybe this would be welcome there. Flight Deck is a B&M invert, one of the very early B&M coasters, dating back to 1993. This is a very short ride, and it was built for its terrain, its finale going right over the lake. This would be a tough coaster to move, but not impossible. They would just need to extend some of the supports, and we've seen coasters like that get moved before. Who can use a small scale, but very intense B&M invert? This is an easy one, Valley Fair. Almost every Cedar Fair park has or had an inverted coaster, RIP Volcano. But Valley Fair desperately needs a coaster with inversions, and they can't use Demon because the one they have is also an old aero looper. Valley Fair could use Flight Deck, and they would love Flight Deck. Gold Striker is a GCI wooden coaster, very modern, opening in 2013. This is one of the 3 best GCIs in the whole country. What park could use a modern elite wooden coaster? This is yet another easy one, the flagship park, Cedar Point. Ever since the 70s, they have not been big on the wooden coaster. They had Blue Streak, then they got Mean Streak, and despite having 16 coasters, the only Woody is the 58-year-old Blue Streak. Cedar Point is always rumored to get one of these big-time GCI twisters, and you got a great one right here looking for a new home. Grizzly is another wooden coaster, this one going back to 1986, and even though this has an enormous structure, it's very mild. So who can use a mild, aging wooden double out and back coaster? Every park in this chain has an old wooden coaster, but I think this coaster fits best at Knott's. Ghost Rider may be 24 years old, but it still runs like an elite modern Woody. Grizzly would give Knott's a much more tame option, contrasting the insane Ghost Rider, and it can serve as an intermediate stepping stone coaster. Where would they put this? Honestly, nowhere. It's so big and so pointless, but in my fantasy world, this is the best fit. So they can put it in Riverside and provide a shuttle out there for all I care. Lucy's Krabby Cabbies is the park's smallest coaster, an E&F Miler kiddie coaster dating back to 1999. Unlike Six Flags, Cedar Fair parks all have coasters for small kids. This would really be redundant at most places, but I found one great fit, Gilroy Gardens. But then, Cedar Fair had to go and ruin everything, announcing that they would no longer be operating this park. But for the sake of this video, let's pretend that never happened. Gilroy Gardens is a family park, but they don't have a true coaster for small kids. Timber Twister is more of a family coaster, and that may be too much for a kid trying to ride their first coaster. This would be a great fit, and give Gilroy a new coaster for the first time in over 2 decades. Patriot is another original B&M, opening in 1991, a former stand-up coaster called Vortex. Ever since 2017, it's been a flawless. It's very small, it only has 2 inversions, so we need to find a park where this would fit and be relevant. I'm giving this to Michigan's Adventure. They have a Vekoma SLC, they have an Aero Corkscrew, they have no B&Ms, so this would be a unique experience, and it would actually be a pretty nice fit here. I'm sorry, Michigan, this is what you get. If you want something better, go to Ohio. Psycho Mouse is an Aero Wild Mouse going back to 2001, and there are 2 other Aero Mice out there, also at Cedar Fair parks. So we need to find a park that doesn't currently have a Wild Mouse, but can use another family-friendly coaster. This would be a nice fit for Worlds of Fun, but I'm saving them for later. I'm giving Psycho Mouse to Kings Island. No, it's not going to be the big splashy addition they're used to, but they can stick this in the corner of the park, and it would be a big draw. Aside from the fact that this is a major Cedar Fair park, just looking at their lineup, a Wild Mouse is a nice fit. Railblazer may be the big prize of this whole fire sale, the RMC Raptor that opened in 2018. This has a compact plot and can fit in any park. Given the issues with capacity, the smaller the park, the better. I know one Cedar Fair park that doesn't draw big crowds, Worlds of Fun. There's nothing else like it in the area. It would become the best coaster in the park. It would complement Prowler very well. It fits Worlds of Fun's lineup like a glove. Every small Cedar Fair park can use this, but in my fantasy world, Worlds of Fun is the big winner. Woodstock Express is an intimate family coaster, definitely not a kid's coaster, and it got its start in 1984, moving to Great America in 1987. We need to find a park that may have a small kids coaster, but doesn't have anything intermediate. A great fit for this is Dorney. Aside from their Woodstock Express, they don't have anything else for kids until they can ride the Wild Mouse. But they got Demon, so I'm giving this weird Intamin to Canada's Wonderland. Sure, they have a ton of smaller rides, but they have one thing that other parks don't: 2 kids areas. They have Kidsville and Planet Snoopy, so if anyone has room for a 4th coaster for kids, it's Canada's Wonderland. Kidsville has 2 coasters, Planet Snoopy has 1, so there you go, balance that out. 9 coasters, 9 parks. The 2 that got left out of this mix were King's Dominion and Carowinds. If King's Dominion was gonna get anything, either Flight Deck or Railblazer would have been good fits. Flight Deck because they don't have an inverted coaster, and Railblazer because why not? It fits just about anywhere that doesn't draw a huge crowd. For Carowinds, I would have given them either Gold Striker or Railblazer. They can really use a modern wooden coaster, just as badly as Cedar Point, so this would have been a perfect fit. And Railblazer, same reason as King's Dominion. Why not? Carowinds draws well, but they can make it work. That was fun. Now for cold, hard, brutal reality. I feel like we're stepping out of the Matrix and into the dark, dank, real world, and it's not pretty. By the time the park closes, Demon's probably going to be 50. This will either be scrapped or maybe sold to a smaller park. Maybe Gene Staples will buy it. Flight Deck, as we said, would be a challenge to move, and because of its age, I think it may be finished. It'll be over 30 years old. We're going to find out more and more about the lifespan of B&Ms over the next decade, but the truth is, they may not see the value in relocating it, and neither will any potential buyers. I think this gets scrapped. Gold Striker is a giant wooden coaster, and moving these isn't easy. On top of that, this is a California coaster. They have to worry about earthquakes. There's extra structure there. On the positive side, it's on a flat plot of land, and that's more favorable for a move. If this gets moved, I think it goes to Carowinds, but I would be surprised if it's not scrapped. Grizzly, forget it, this thing is toast. Sell it for a sack of corn if you need to. Lucy's Krabby Cabbies. As great as this would be at Gilroy Gardens, I bet this gets sold to another park. It really could be anywhere, even a family fun center that wants a kids coaster. Patriot is kinda in the same boat as Flight Deck, even though this would be much easier to pick up and plop somewhere else, being on more of a compact flat plot of land. This is 2 years older than Flight Deck. Will Cedar Fair bother moving a coaster nearing the end of its service life? Would anyone want to invest in a coaster like that, especially one that wouldn't even be a big draw? At least Flight Deck is still a premier thrill ride. I think this will be the end for Patriot, and maybe its trains go to Dorney Park, King's Dominion, or Cedar Point. Psycho Mouse is one I think can get moved to another park. It's only 21 years old and seems durable. There was one other Aero Mouse that got moved in the past. I said Kings Island was going to get this in my fantasy world, but Worlds of Fun is a better fit. I just took Sophie here, and aside from Cosmic Coaster and Spinning Dragons, there wasn't anything else here that was kids friendly. Psycho Mouse would add a lot to the park. Recently, there's a rumor that Cedar Point will be building a boardwalk, and Psycho Mouse will be the coaster on this boardwalk. It seems like they're building this for next year, so if Psycho Mouse does go there, the destruction of Great America will start happening way sooner than I thought. Railblazer also seems like a slam dunk to be moved, although I've seen some talk about the track being welded together. Not really easy to unscrew and rescrew those together, but for the sake of argument, if they can relocate this, they will. It's only 4 years old and it's very popular. There will be a lot of parks out there with their hands out wanting this one. As much as the small parks could use this, I think Cedar Fair snubs them. I think they hand this over to King's Dominion. They probably don't give it to their biggest ones with the highest attendance, but King's Dominion seems to be the right size for a coaster like this. Sorry Dorney, Worlds of Fun, Valley Fair, Michigan's Adventure. Cedar Fair just isn't that into you. Finally, Woodstock Express. I would be surprised to see this move to another Cedar Fair park, but maybe another small park out there wants it, so maybe it gets sold off. It's kinda old and kinda weird. It seems fit for a small family park. I'm not gonna go over the rest of the rides. Those are much more likely to find a new home in the chain, so maybe everyone ends up with something after all. But let me know what you think. How many of these will get relocated inside the chain? How many will get relocated outside the chain? And how many will be sold for scrap? It's so hard to tell, so I have to use my best educated guesses. In the end, this is what I came up with. I didn't watch anyone else's predictions, so if these happen to line up exactly with another video out there, I promise it's all a coincidence. Maybe great minds think alike. Before you go, if you can drop this video a like, I'd appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. And if you're new here and love coasters, please give me a sub for more content just like this. Also, check out my links below for my Discord server, and my second channel where I post copyright-free off-ride footage, and my baseball channel if you also happen to be a baseball fan. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.